StraighTAllDay.com.
We're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is 3 things that every man wants and should acquire. We're going to get into that in one moment. First of all, let me remind you all, I have a text message community. I stopped sending the message out every single day. If you're in my text community, you might have got the message. You did get the message. If you joined maybe in the last, after I sent that message out, maybe you didn't get it. But I did stop sending out the messages every single day. I do still have a text community. I do still send messages out. It's just we're not sending them out daily. But you should get this message from me. You should get in my text community rather, so that you'll be getting these messages when I do send them. I'm guaranteeing you they will have you focused, sharp, and on point. It's just not going to be every single day. So that number, 305-384-6894. Join my text community. When I do put out a message, whether I send you out once a month or once a year, you will, or once a week, or however often I do it, even if I bring it back to daily at some point, this message will have you focused, sharp, and on point, and you're going to want to be, inside the room. You won't be outside the circle when those messages are coming out. So text me. That number's down below in the description. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is where I do all my coaching, all my high level trainings. If you want to work with me directly, there is only one way to do so. And the way to do that is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com. There you can get direct access to all of our high level courses, trainings, coaching, and high level frameworks and processes on mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. Again, that's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So all that out the way, let's get into this topic. 3 things every man wants and should acquire. Now, as this title suggests, this episode is specifically angled towards my male audience. And when I say man, I'm actually talking about males, all right? People who are born with a penis, okay? Talking about males. However, if you are a female listening to this and you're like, damn, Dre did an episode that's targeted towards males, and I'm a female, so maybe I should skip this one. I suggest that you don't skip it. I suggest you listen to it anyway. Why? Because if you have males in your life, whether that's a male you are married to or dating, whether it is a male who is your child, whether it's a male who is your sibling, whether it's a male who you work with or for, or you are engaged with in any way. Right? Ladies, you probably have some men in your life in some way, shape, or form. You should listen to this anyway, because I'm going to be describing the type of things that you as a woman will probably want in any man who is around you, whether it's your father, your son, your brother, your husband, boyfriend, or any other man who you are dealing with and you want to look up to and respect, and you want to feel like they can do some things to help you out in some way. These are the type of men, you want a man who has these 3 traits. Right? And I'm going to explain what they are here. And men who are listening to this, you want to have these 3, whether you already know it and you're going after them consciously, whether you subconsciously want it or you never even thought about it. I'm going to open your eyes here today, because these are all things that men are looking to accomplish and achieve. Let's get into it. Point number 1. Topic, once again, is 3 things every man wants and should acquire. Number 1 is status. Status. Number 1 thing every man wants: status. Definition of status is the relative social, professional, or other standing of someone or something. Our relative social standing. Men care about this, and we care about it a lot. Women care about this too, but I'm talking from the male perspective because I'm a male. I have no experience being a female, so I'm talking from the male perspective. Ladies, if everything I describe here is something that women want to, then great. But I can't speak from that angle, as I just explained. Men are driven. We are driven by status. Males, we are driven by status. The reason why we let you know the things that we've done in our bio, the reason why we put our trophies up on the wall. Any of you men who's a hunter, excuse me, you have the heads of the deer and the bears that you killed up on the wall in your house or in your man cave. The reason we have those there because it reminds us of our status. Even if not a whole bunch of people even see it, even if it's just you that sees it and nobody comes in there, the fact that you have it up on the wall reminds you of your accomplishments. All right, that's part of the status. All right, that is part of the status. Men are driven by this. If you're watching this on video right now, you see behind me, I have a bookshelf with a bunch of my books up on the shelf. All right, part of that Part of the reason why I had those books up on the shelf there so that you can see them whenever I turn this camera on is it's a reflection of my status. It makes me feel good to see them there, and it makes me feel good to know that you see them there. All right, this is part of my drive for status. It can be conscious or it can be unconscious, but we all have this. As men, we are always looking at ourselves and subconsciously comparing where we stand relative to where other men that we see stand. We're comparing ourselves to them, not in necessarily a negative way, but we are looking, what's their status, what's my status, where do I stand, or where do I fit in the hierarchy here, where am I on the totem pole amongst these people in my industry, or these people in my neighborhood, or these other men who are standing here with me in the elevator, where do I stand? We are always consciously or subconsciously doing this comparison game. And again, females, I don't know if you all do this, but males, we do this. No man wants to feel low status compared to other men in his space. And no man wants to feel like he's the worst performer in a room, or the worst player on the team, or the lowest earner in the office. Now, some people you may do it strategically. You may go for that strategically. For example, you may hear people say, hey, I want to be in a room where I'm the dumbest guy in the room so I can learn from the other people in the room. I want to be in a room where I'm the brokest guy in the room so I can learn from people who make more money than me. But we're doing that in a strategic way and for a temporary time span, so we can use that to get better. Those who actually do it. A lot of people talk about that, don't actually do it. But those who actually do it are doing that temporarily. They don't want to stay the brokest person in the room, or the dumbest person in the room, or the least accomplished person in the room, because then what does anybody else in the room need you for? All right, you're taking up space. So again, men don't want to feel low status compared to other men in the spaces in which we are engaged. So, for example, I'm not going to go to a tennis court and feel bad because all the other male tennis players at that park are better than me because I don't play tennis. I have no vested interest in my status in the tennis world. But when it came to basketball in my playing days, I was always comparing my position to the other players out there. One of the things that drove me to become a professional player after my college career ended unceremoniously was that I had a drive to make sure I achieved a certain status to where I could say, even in my own mind, even if nobody else knew about it, I wanted to be able to say in my own mind, I out-achieved these other players who I had played with, whether it was from my neighborhood in high school or in college. It was part of my drive for status to achieve what I had achieved. Yes, it was the love of the game and accomplishing and playing and making money and traveling and all those things. It was also status. That was part of the mix of why I wanted to do what I wanted to do. As men, we are constantly doing this. As a matter of fact, just on the day that I'm recording this, which will be several weeks before you hear it, I just found two more 10K races. That's the biggest competition that I get in sports-wise these days. I like to run in 10K races. That's the distance that I found is my sweet spot. Two of them that I'm going to register for that are coming up in late 2023 and early 2024. One of them that I've been in multiple times. I've come in third place and second place the two times I've been in it. So now there's only one thing left. I got to get first place. Then another one that I never even did before that I'm going to get in, and we'll see how I do in that. But one of the reasons why I want to get in that race, not because I need to challenge myself to see if I can run 10 kilometers. That's about 6.25 miles roughly. I can do that on my own. I can do that at the treadmill in my building by myself and nobody has to know about it. I can do it at 4 a.m. out here in Miami like I usually do, and nobody will even see me run. I get into the race because of the status that is attached to the medal that comes with coming in the top 3 in an age group. All right, that medal is part of my chase for status. Men, we care about this a lot. So I was always comparing my position to other players during my playing days as a professional athlete. And as men, we still do this even when you're not playing a sport. Now, while too much comparison can lead to the compare and despair phenomenon, you start feeling bad because you compare yourself to people who are just outpacing you by so much that it's not even funny. It doesn't stop us from still doing it. We still compare and the reason why I'm specifically pointing out the men for this is one reason is because I'm a man. I have no experience being a female, so I can't speak from that perspective. Another reason is because men have testosterone. And that testosterone is what gives us our drive to win, dominate, compete, and see where we stand versus other testosterone-driven individuals, other males. This is why men don't want to be in competition against women. I don't want to get in a competition where I'm competing against females because you all, ladies, y'all don't have the amount of testosterone that we have. Your drive to win and dominate and beat other people is not the same as our drive. Doesn't mean women don't get into sports. There are plenty of women in sports. There's competition. Sometimes when I run 10Ks, there are women out there who might be comparably faster than me. Not many, but there may be a few in every race that I get in. But I don't really care about beating a woman not because there aren't any women that could possibly be faster than me, but because the women don't have the same drive to dominate and win that men have. We have an innate drive to dominate and beat our opponents. Women don't have that. So I don't want to compete against women. So when they had that guy at the University of Pennsylvania who was a man for 21 years, decided to become a woman, and they got into the women's races, started beating the women in swimming, and a bunch of men stood by there like some pussies and let him do that, and nobody stepped up to defend those females. I was disgusted by that. And that's why I did a whole episode on it. And as a matter of fact, that episode is my most listened to episode of 2022. Dre steps up to defend women athletes. And I don't even watch women's sports, not a single one. There's not a single women's sport that I follow. But the fact that that happened disgusted me because there was a bunch of men who do follow women's sports who sat there and let that happen. And it's still disgusting to this very day. And if that happens again in another sport, it's only a matter of time before it happens in a sport that is even more prominent than female swimming. We'll see what happens. We'll see who steps up. But I will turn the mic on and speak on that again. The whole point here, I'm bringing all that up to say, is men are driven to dominate. So I want to compete against other people who have the same drive to dominate that I have. I want to beat them. I want to beat somebody who doesn't have my same drive to win, because that's the more satisfying victory. So this is something as men, this drive to dominate and compete, this is not something to be suppressed. So you men out there who have been socialized that maybe something's wrong with this drive to dominate and to compete, maybe you spend a lot of time around women and their more feminine tendencies have dulled your blade, the edge of your blade. You need to get it back. Now you need to go make yourself some male friends, and you need to get this drive back to go out there, dominate, compete, and win in anything. You don't have to play a sport to do this. You can do this in business just as well as you're doing in sports. As a matter of fact, you can do it in business for way longer than you do it in sports. And in business is a much more even playing field than there is in sports. I mean, if you're not 6'4" and athletic, you're probably not going to be that competitive in basketball. But you don't have to be any certain height or have any kind of genetic gifts to be a successful business person. So business is a more even playing field than sports is. I've talked about that many times in the past. If I wasn't 6'4", I probably wouldn't have been a professional athlete. If I was closer to my father's height, who's about 5'8", then this would be a whole different world that maybe I still have this podcast, but it would be a whole different angle from which I'm coming than what I'm coming from right now. Whole point being, do not tamp down or suppress this drive that you have to dominate and win. This is something as men we need to embrace. Again, don't let anyone tamp down your drive to compete and win relative to other men. You need it because this will drive your greatest accomplishments. So any men out there who maybe you don't have any males around you to help support this innate drive that is part of your male instinct, your testosterone driven instinct, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, get on a call with me and let's talk about it and figure out how you can get these right supporting influences around you. Moving on to point number 2. And by the way, those supporting influences, they can be supported by a woman, but you need some men around you. I'm not saying that the women can't help, but ladies, this is not your job. All right, so you have a husband or something that fits the description of what I'm saying, this ain't your job. Men who are listening to me, you have a wife who supports you and she wants you to be great and pushes you and all of that, motivates you and all of that. I appreciate that and I believe you, I respect it, but you need some men around you. Moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is 3 things every man wants and should acquire. Number 2, resources. Resources. Your drive to achieve status is often a reflection of the resources that you have or know you can acquire. Our drive for raising our status usually results in, naturally, gathering and accumulation of resources. I mean, this goes back to the caveman days, way back in the day, before our time, when the caveman, the male, would leave the cave in the day, and his job was to what? Go out there and get resources for the family, for the kids and the women. Let me go kill some wild animals so that we can eat. Let me go gather some berries so we can sustain ourselves. Let me go fight off the saber-tooth tiger outside of the cave so we can survive. And let me go beat up the rival caveman who's trying to come in here and steal my kids and rape my woman so we can defend. I can defend my home and my family. This is the drive to go out there and get something. This is the man's drive. Go get it. These are resources. These resources they can take many forms, such as relationships, material possessions, money, awards, accomplishments, anything else that we can use to our advantage or to represent or help boost our status or to satisfy our drive to achieve, dominate, and win. Sometimes men just go and acquire things not because they need them, just because it helps them raise their personal status. All right, how many of you, depending on what world you work in, I'm sure there's some of you who work in a world where you are dealing with people who have plenty of money, have plenty of financial resources. They don't really need money, but they're still going after money. I talk about this often. I tell you, I work with people who are earning in the top 1, 2, 3% of income earners in America, in a healthy 6 figures and up, and every single one of them is angling to make more money. I have yet to work with anyone who's in the top 1, 2, 3% of income earners in America who says, I'm good with money. Dre, we don't need to talk about how I make more money at all. Nobody says that to me. Says nobody, ever. I'm good with how much money I have. Everybody's trying to make more money. Why? Not because they necessarily need it, not because their kids are not going to have dinner if they don't go out and make more money, but because acquiring the resources and making more and going and getting more helps boost the male status. This is the reason why men go out there and do the things that we do. This is the reason why a man who already has accomplished pretty much everything and has everything is still getting up before the sun comes up, going out there and going and making it happen, even though he already has way more than damn near everybody else has. Because this is an innate internal drive that is fueled by testosterone that is just part of his being as a man. So any of you ladies who are trying to understand this, you probably appreciate it. If you have a man in your life who is like this, I bet you appreciate it. But the reason why is not because logically he needs it, is because it's part of his internal drive. This is the reason why, again, myself, I played a professional sport for almost a decade. I had nothing to prove as an athlete. I still go and enter 10K races just so I can go and win races because it's fun. Winning the race is fun to me. I had nothing to prove. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't get paid to win the races. I pay to enter the races. There's no cash prize when you come in first place. I do it anyway because it's fun. It's fun for me to go out there and accomplish something where I know I'm competing against other people who think they're going to win, but I'm going to win. That in itself is the fun. So people always ask me, what was the fun in playing sports? I said, I never played sports for fun. Winning the game was the fun part. I didn't playing the game itself was not fun. Winning the game is the fun part. And I'll do a whole bunch of training for one chance to get the victory because that's what satisfies my innate drive as a man. And males who are listening to this, you have the same innate drive, and some of you have allowed this drive to be put to sleep. You need to wake it back up. Again, we do these things to boost our status, even if just when looking in the mirror. It's not like the whole world has to know about this. I go win a 10K race. It's not like it comes on the 6 o'clock news. I'm doing it just because it helps me feel good. It doesn't matter if anybody else knows about it. Maybe y'all will know about it. I'll tell you, hey, I won this race. But it's really for me. It's not really for anybody else. And we do this to satisfy our drive, again, to achieve, dominate, and win. This is what men want to do. Resources are a byproduct of our drive for status. When you are driving for status, you're going to do things that naturally produce resources. So when men want to have nice cars, for example, nice material possessions like clothes, watches, nice shoes, what's the other things that men want to have? A big house, fancy cars, whatever, trophies, and other things that some women may look at it and say, why do you need to have all of these things? You already got enough. You can only wear one. You ain't got enough arms to wear all those watches. You don't have enough bodies to wear all those clothes. You don't have enough asses to sit in all of those cars. You don't have enough lives. You don't have enough heads to sleep on all the bedrooms in those houses that you have. Why go get more? And some of you men, they look at other men and wonder why another man is going after all these things when he already has more than everybody else has, times 10. It's not because they necessarily need the things. They definitely don't need them. It's not even because they want them. It's because the resources that a man can acquire, even when he already has enough, are a reflection of that man's status. That's the reason why. Some men will go out and let me go make another $1 million, not because they need the money. It's because achieving that, getting that extra million is more than the other guy has. Remember when Kobe Bryant won the championship, and what year was that? 2000 and I believe it was 2010. It was his fifth and final NBA championship. Ultimately, his last title he won in the NBA. And someone asked him right after they had won the game, he was in the post-game press conference, and someone said, Kobe, what does it mean now that you have won this championship? And one of the first things that Kobe said out of his mouth, he said, well, it means I have one more than Shaq. And Shaq he was referring to was Shaquille O'Neal, his former teammate, with whom he had won 3 championships. They won 3 championships together in the early 2000s on the LA Lakers. Shaq got traded to the Miami Heat, won a championship in Miami. So then Shaq had 4, Kobe only had 3. That was in Miami Heat won the championship in 2006 with Shaquille O'Neal and a young guy named Dwayne Wade. Then a couple of years later, 2008, Kobe went to the NBA Finals but lost. They went back to the NBA Finals the next 2 years. So 3 years straight, the Lakers went to the NBA Finals, 2008, 2009, 2010. They lost in 08, then they won in 2009. They won again in 2010. So Kobe went from 3 to 4 to 5 championships. And when he won that 5th one, one of his first responses was, now I got one more than Shaq. Now, was Kobe already a legend in the NBA? Yes. Was he already destined for the Hall of Fame? Yes. Was he already recognized as one of the greatest players of all time? Yes. Winning that 5th championship, now, I'm sure there were other reasons why he wanted to win in addition to what he said, but that having one more than Shaq was a big deal. Him and Shaq were already both legends. Nobody was questioning whether Kobe was a legend. Had they lost that 2010 NBA Finals, which they almost did because that came down to Game 7, he still would have been looked at as a legend. But that extra win, that meant something for him. That resource was part of him boosting his own personal status. That's a reflection of the testosterone within us. Again, it's not really about the trophy. Michael Jordan himself is quoted as saying that the reason he liked winning trophies like championships and MVPs or whatever kind of trophies he got, whatever victories, and again, sometimes trophies for us ladies, sometimes trophies for us men is not necessarily an actual trophy that you can hold in your hand. Sometimes the trophy is just me knowing that I did something that you didn't do. That's a trophy. All right, so Michael Jordan is quoted as saying the reason he liked winning trophies, not so he had a trophy. It was because he knew nobody else had the trophy, and that mattered to him. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is 3 things that every man wants and should acquire or have. Number 3, ambition. Every man should have ambition. And I would think, ladies, any man that you have in your life, you appreciate a man who has ambition, even if he has not achieved the targets of his ambition yet. Just the fact that he has the ambition is you're happy for that because you can help fuel that fire. The man who has no ambition, well, nothing you can do. You can't fan a flame that ain't burning. All right, ambition is defined as a strong desire to achieve something. Again, our testosterone as men leads to the drive to conquer and win and achieve, which is basically the definition of ambition. Like a person who has a very strong drive to conquer things, to win, and to achieve, if for no other reason than just to know that he did it. Not because he's trying to take care of basic necessities, just for no other reason than just to know that he did it. That is the definition of ambition. The more testosterone a man has, or the more in touch he is with his testosterone, for lack of a better description, usually the more ambition he has. Because testosterone is it pushes our drive. That's what it does. It moves us to go and do something, go and conquer, go and win. That's what testosterone has a man want to do. We may allow that ambition to manifest in different ways because not everybody aims for the same things. A man who has been sapped of his drive to achieve and thus has very little ambition is generally, and again, ladies, you can correct me if I got this wrong. A man with no ambition is generally unattractive to a heterosexual woman, regardless of his physical looks. Like a man who he could look great on the outside. He has the muscles and the size and the pretty eyes and the strong jawline and all of those things, nice clothes on and everything, but he has no drive to achieve anything or do anything, then he becomes unattractive to a woman. Why? Because he doesn't have any internal drive. Just the looks alone are not enough. And women look at men differently than the way men look at women. A man doesn't need a woman to have ambition, but a woman does need a man to have some ambition, have some kind of something inside of him that wants to go do something and achieve something and make something happen. This is just part of our lizard wiring, going again back to the caveman days, as I mentioned. In a heterosexual world, a woman is attracted to a man who is driven to go and do something, go and get something, go out, leave the cave, and bring something back. Conversely, a man is driven to be that because he knows, again, even if he only knows this unconsciously, man understands that women are attracted to men who can go out there, leave the cave, go get something, and bring it back. They don't even have to, the woman doesn't have to know how you got it. They just need to know that you can go get it. When something is needed, you can go and take care of it. Any heterosexual woman is attracted to a man who has that ability at least has the desire to have the ability, even if he is failing at it right now. A woman appreciates a man who has the ability to do that, or at least he has the desire to be that. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is 3 things every man wants and should acquire. If you don't already have it, you should probably get more if you already got it. Number one, status is the relative social standing that you have compared to other people. Men, we are driven by status. We are always looking at where we stand compared to other people, and we want to make sure that we have a respected status amongst other men in our circle. Number two, resources. These are things like money, material possessions, awards, accomplishments, anything we can use that will represent and boost our status, even if we are only boosting our status with the people in our home or just boosting your status with yourself. You may be achieving something that nobody else even knows that you achieved just because you want to. All right, this is the reason why a man will go to the gym and kill himself in the gym in a workout. Nobody else even sees the workout. A man can have a gym in his house. All right, kills himself in a workout by himself with nobody watching just because the accomplishment of getting himself in shape and lifting those weights is a accomplishment, is a resource that he has achieved with himself because he knows he did it. That matters. And number three, ambition. Heterosexual women appreciate a man who has ambition. Again, even if he has not succeeded in his ambition yet, she appreciates the fact that he has ambition. A man who has no ambition is not very attractive to a woman, and a man who has lost his ambition just needs to get back in touch with his instincts and his testosterone, because it's all inside of you if you are a man. There's no way that it's not. All that said, folks, make sure you text me. Let me know the best insight, best point you got from today's class, and you'll be getting my messages whenever I send them out. My number is 305-384-6894 to be in my texting community. Also, Work on Your Game University. Males who are listening to this and you want to tap back into that drive, you want to make sure you are fully integrated with that internal drive to go and do stuff and make things happen and not wait for things to happen and be the man that you were born to be. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Schedule a time to get on a call with me or somebody on our team, and let's talk about how we make it happen, and we will show you exactly how it works. Again, that's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre, all